Here's a quick idea for churches, schools, and parents. I suppose, in fact, any religious institutions and educational institutions. You see, 2020 is going to be completely disrupted. We are going to only phase schools back, which means that only certain grades and years are going to go back to school at a time. Even when they go back to school, they're not going back for full-time classes anymore. We're going to have to do a lot of distance and home education. And when our young people go to schools, they're not going to be going for full days and they're not going to be getting all of their curriculum done at school. We're just not going to get through the school year as planned. And that is true in pretty much every country around the world. So here's the problem. If your children are not going to school and need help from parents at home, that's a real problem for parents in two ways. For some parents, they can't go back to work if their children are not at school. They don't have childcare. And secondly, parents don't have the time to help their children at home. So, a few things to think about. First of all, if you're an employer and you are trying to get your employees back to work after lockdown is finished, you have to consider what happens if they have got school-going children. If those children are not going back to school, then those parents are going to struggle to come back to work. You cannot just ignore that fact at the moment, and you have to provide some kind of assistance or understanding or give the opportunity to continue to work from home. Parents, you need to give yourself a gap as well. The most important thing for both you and your kids is your well-being, your physical, mental, and psychological well-being. Abandon the curriculum if you must, but your children need to come out of this year. This is not a few weeks of disruption. This is an entire year of disruption in one way or another. And your children need to reach the end of 2020 psychologically and mentally intact. They preferably need to love learning. And actually, what they have learned, the actual curriculum itself, is irrelevant. It does not matter. If they love learning, and they are healthy and intact, you will have done a great job for 2020. So I said this was for churches as well. Here's a final thought. All community opportunity. This could be anything, I suppose, from a bridge club to a synagogue and a shul and a mosque and a church. You are not going back to normal either. You are not going to have your Sabbath and your Sunday services. You are not going to be using your buildings in any way as you used to. Why don't you provide care? Care for the children in your community and your neighborhood who are not going to go back to school, whose parents are not able to give them care during the day because they have to go back to work, whose parents maybe don't have the ability to do this distance learning support that parents are now needing to do. Why don't you provide those facilities in your community? This could be the most remarkable contribution that your religious organization makes over the next few months. A facility during the week for children to come to have care facilities. Many churches do this as holiday clubs. You could now do this for all children who are not going back to school. You can also provide tutoring for children whose parents are not able to assist them with distance learning. As I say, my context is being a Christian and coming from a church background, but honestly, a Rotary club, a bowling club, a tennis club, a bridge club could do this. You're not using your facilities right now. Some of you have spare time available. Some of you have grandparents in the mix who it might be good to get into the system of just caring for kids whose parents can't care for them because of work commitments, and possibly helping with distance education where parents maybe don't have the time or the ability themselves to do it. 2020 is not about getting back to normal. 2020 is about realizing we're not in a sprint to finish a crisis and then get back to work. We are in a marathon here that's going to last at least a year, probably well into 2021. Let's begin to think differently about what we can do as communities to support and help each other, what we can do differently with our facilities to support and help the community, and what each of us can contribute to the world around us. Stay safe, stay sane. Let's get through this together.